Hello everyone, today we're gonna take a look at Grey Haven. This time I wanted to focus on a more gameplay oriented game and to go into the details and the thickness of it. So if you enjoy getting stimulated not only by the giant geometrical shapes but also the adrenaline rush generated by dodging 10 projectiles homing in that will one-shot you, you are in the right place. Gameplay. At its base, the game combines roguelike hack and slash action RPGs with some dating sim elements. A good comparison is Hades, since the gameplay loop is almost the same, minus the permadeath part. When you start the game, you'll have to select your difficulty. There are 4 in total, ranging from tanking 30 hits before dying to tanking just 3 of them. If you select challenging, which I recommend, expect to die a couple of times before getting it right. Then select the dungeon you want, go in, fight your way to the final boss and win. If you die, you have a limited numbers of revives, and each one will cost quite a lot, especially in the beginning. And if you ran out of them, back to the start. You also lose everything you collect. So preparation is necessary. For your arsenal, you have daggers, swords, long swords and rifles, which is also in the order of their usefulness. Daggers are fun, but with a limited range, they are very underwhelming. Also, when the game will swarm you with enemies, swords do have more range, but again, it's still not enough. Long swords is where the fun begins. Big damage, big range, and also because some of them will have a stagger special attack, and stunning the horde of enemies chasing you is how you will survive. And I forgot to mention, every weapon has a secondary attack, which ranges from wasting your stamina to CCing the whole map. And finally the guns, which are absolute monsters. The only bad thing is that there are just 2 in the game. This is gameplay from an endgame dungeon on the hardest difficulty. Besides weapons, you also have implants, which will provide some extra damage in the early game, and armor and accessories, which will provide stat boosts. The attack pattern of the enemies is not that hard. They will either swarm you or just fire a projectile to your current location, so you don't have to worry about the enemy AI predicting your dodges. The only difficulty comes from finding the 1% of the map that will not turn red from the rain of attacks from your enemies. Also, the dodge is a permanent iframe, so as long as you are dodging, you are in. Enemies will drop souls and crafting materials, while bosses will drop new items, which you can select at the end of your run. So in a nutshell, this is how each run is structured. The game succeeds in satisfying both the road and the destination. There is enough enemy variety and the bosses do provide a good challenge. And selecting an OP weapon or armor at the end will make each run trigger a dopamine response in your brain. Second part of the game is the dating sim. Between runs, you can visit your home and interact with the girls that you save from the dungeon. Also, each one of them will act as a merchant, from upgrading your gear to building stuff around the base. You can also collect materials just like in Genshin, develop your own garden and food consumables, and decorating your house. Here is the most important part, because furniture will provide plus 5 HP. I don't have any design skills, so this is how my house looks, maximized for efficiency. Also from here you have access to all your dungeons. It's a pretty chill area which comes alive with every run completed, making it perfect to spend some time after each run. So getting back to the dungeons, the most fun will be at the beginning, where you will experiment with different weapons and builds, because in the late game you will be forced to use meta weapons just to not die. Story. On the brink of death, you wake up in a nightmare, where you encounter a witch, Dana, that used a multitude of souls to heal you. She also guides you to the Grey Haven. Here you learn that she is trying to stop the nightmares from expanding and corrupting everything. You also meet Haganith, a demon subjugated by Dana, and now she helps her. The story is divided in 4 chapters. In the first 3, you will navigate the nightmares in order to save the people swallowed by it, and then they will join your haven. And in Act 4 is where you learn that the real enemy is Haganith. She was playing dumb just to spy on us and to keep everyone trapped in a loop. So this isn't the first time fighting her. In the final act, you can choose to fight her or turn on Dana. Either way, the loop will continue. The real ending is when you finish the secondary quests on every character in the Grey Haven. After the fight, they will jump in and help you seal Haganith for good, and then everyone has a jolly good ending. Now to introduce the citizens of Grey Haven. All of them have their own storyline and dungeon, which will serve as endgame content. I won't go in depth about their stories because they're quite long. And to mention it now, the nightmare is connected to the multiverse, so it sucks people from different timelines. So the cast will feature people from Mars, androids, furries and literal malware. But I will explain their role in the Haven since the gameplay is tied to them. Dana. She's the owner of the Haven. She acts as the general store where you can spend souls for basic materials. Haganith, her function is to provide advanced crafting materials, which you'll need in order to upgrade your gear. Mei, she's an Oni samurai and will act as the cook, where you will stack up on healing items, and they will come in clutch, since this is the only way to directly heal in the dungeon, aside from the scarce healing fountains scattered in the levels. She'll require both dungeon materials and farmable items in order to make her recipes. Nicole, she's a cyborg from Mars and will help you transcend your humanity and become JC Denton. You have 3 slots for implants. You will need to craft each upgrade and they will provide passive boosts and an active skill, which is only useful in the early game since the damage will fall behind very quickly. The most important stat here is crit rate, so there isn't really a build combination to make, just slot in the last upgrade in each category. Eloni, which I'm pretty sure is a reference to Elon Musk, is a scientist from Mars. Her story is tied to Nicole and you'll meet 3 versions of her with time travel. She also will help you upgrade your weapons and armors. Kukul, she is the devoted religious nut to the god with the same name, but she will provide insane stats to your character. You'll have to sacrifice duplicate gear for coins and use them to upgrade your character. The coins will provide flat upgrades to attack, HP and critical chance, which are mandatory for the endgame dungeons. Stein, a cowgirl that comes from ancient Greece and from a race of warriors. She will act as the farmer and will sell you seeds to plant and grow them, which will be needed for Mei. Apis and Vespa, since they come from the same storyline, they are hybrids between bees and humans. Apis will craft you furniture and Vespa will craft you endgame armor. And Kiera, the DLC character. She doesn't have any function, but she just sits there menacingly. Now that you also know the setting, let's circle back to the gameplay. You already saw me playing as different characters. Before you enter a dungeon, you get to select from 3 of them. You get their skin and a bonus, unique to each character. Some of them are just straight upgrades, while some of them will require a trade-off, like attack increase at the expense of defense. So the more secondary quests you unlock, the more characters to choose from. You can also unlock their attire, so you can wear it even when not in a dungeon. To do a recap, the gameplay variation will come from gear, weapons, armor and accessories, character selection, cybernetics and Kukul coins for upgrades, plus the enemy variation, which for an indie title, it's more than enough in my opinion. If you want the best build in the game, use the musket that Stein will give you. You can use this the whole game, and the plasma rifle when you want to melt bosses. Another fun weapons to use is the bull gauntlets from the Stein storyline. They hit like a truck and have very good range for a dagger type. For armor, use the vampire attire, and for the accessory, here you can use one depending on your playstyle, but I recommend the SS of the Demon Lord, which I think is the only accessory that gives you 2% critical chance instead of just 1%. And you'll see very quickly how good criticals are, especially as you progress deeper into the dungeons and difficulty. For the DLC, it adds Kiera, a new storyline and dungeon, which are great, but it does feel quite short. I was also expecting more gear and scenes. This DLC only adds 2 weapons, both which are not that good, and the scenes can be seen in the Steam store. The only overpowered things are the Kiera armor, which will give you 1 revive every 150 seconds, and the extra character that you can select during your runs, which will provide you an invincibility for a short time. Both are S tier upgrades. And for the juicy content, the art and design is top notch, especially if you are into thick. But the scenes are limited to soft and Yuri content, and most of the scenes are unlocked from the secondary quests, which will take a couple hours to complete. And from what I've read, this has turned quite some people down. But this would be a first, since the game is focused more on the gameplay and the scenes are just an added bonus. The good. For the gameplay, I think the devs nailed it. It has enough variety and provides a good challenge. Everything that I've mentioned about the gameplay in this video will fall into the good category. Obviously, it doesn't have the massive scaling like in Diablo or Path of Exile, where you could do builds that wipe the entire dungeon from 3 screens away, but for a game of this size, it's just enough. The art is also very high quality. You get both the 3D models and 2D artwork, which is a nice touch, just like Nike. Overall, very solid for a semi-loot game. The bad. There are some scaling issues. On the hardest difficulty, some mobs are way too tough. I know that increasing the HP of the enemy is common in bigger difficulties, but at some point it just becomes tedious. What I found weird is that all the items offer a flat amount of stats. Maybe if we had some variety with percentages, we would have some more build variety since you could increase the stats exponentially. And the body of Nicole is probably the most unfair enemy. She has 2 attacks, one infinite range snipe and lasers spinning around the whole map. Normally it wouldn't be a problem, but when you have to fight 4 of them, it becomes a problem of dying instantly on the other side of the map. An indicator for them would be nice, or at least a build-up timer and animation. There are a couple more issues here, but then again, I wouldn't expect a AAA game's scaling and itemization. There are also some minor bugs here and there, like some weird translations or characters sitting with their head in the ground, but I never encountered a game crash or a soft lock. There is some annoyance when it comes to the AI of the enemies. For most of them, they are set to follow your current location, and if they manage to swarm you, you wouldn't be able to escape even with the dash. And this usually results in an instant death. But I guess the moral is to not get caught in a bad position. Also, the DLC was a bit underwhelming in terms of content. For the next ones, I expect at least a weapon for each weapon type, since your playstyle will be centered around them. 3 armors and accessories, and at least 5 new scenes, which in my opinion is not that much to expect. Most of the negative reviews are either that the scenes are bad because they are Yuri, which is subjective, or that you will encounter bugs, even big ones like corrupted saves, softlocks, or performance issues, but I personally did not encounter anything game breaking. And to mention this, I played the game on the 4.2 version, so they at least had a lot of time to update the game to this state. The ugly. I'm glad to say that I don't really have anything to add here. This is usually reserved for things like serious problems with the game or the devs, but I've encountered none with Greyhaven. In the end, it's quite a solid game. Probably it would have been more popular if it had more engaging scenes, but that's the decision of the developer. I'll give it a 4.5 out of 5. Especially since you can grab it for $9 during a sale, which happens quite often. Again, you may see the score on Steam sitting at 75%, but most of the negative reviews are from bugs that for better or worse I didn't encounter. Maybe they were present in an earlier version, but as of now I can't speak on that. And thankfully this is why Lord Gibbon gave us refunds. So this is it for the video. Thank you for watching and I'll see you in the next one.